Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So for today, I'll be showing you how I made this McFarlane Miles Morales. So as you can see here, I am again using the Jim Gordon body. And I think for the brief part, I am using the Nightwing body for this one. Just because the Jim Gordon brief part has a hole on the side. So these parts over here have already been airbrushed with matte varnish off screen. So I was already painting it right at this moment here. So since the base body is already black, I have just covered up the Batman symbol with the black paint. So for this one I did use again golden SoFlat black. And then this one I am using the golden Pyrrole red. And as you can see, I'm just freehanding it. It's much easier to clean up because then all you have to do is either you can use a rubbing alcohol to remove some of the excess paint, or you can just cover it up with more black. So it makes it much cleaner afterwards. So here I'm just painting all the lines. As you can see, it looks very rough. But we'll clean all of those up later on. So I'm just making all the lines just so I know where each of these will go. So if you're gonna try to make something like this, just make sure that you do have a reference photo. So I think for this one I did copy the Mafex Spider-Man picture, and then I was looking into comic images as well. So usually I don't really recommend what I'm doing right now. If you do have the time and the patience, instead of painting the color red directly to black, I would recommend painting it first with either gray or white. It would just make the red paint more vibrant, and it would only require you a couple layers of the red for it to look good. But I was a little lazy with this one, so I just painted it straight without doing a white or gray undercoat. If you're kind of curious to what type of brushes I'm using, so right now with the spider logo here, I am using an 18/0 brush, and it's one of those Princeton brush from Michaels. And then earlier when I was doing the other thicker red part there, I was using a #1 Artist Loft Vienna from Michaels as well. So these paint brushes, I would recommend not to cheap out on brushes. Again, they're very affordable and it would last you much longer than the dollar store brands. Michaels, I don't know if you have them in your area, but they usually do have a lot of sales with the brushes. Sometimes it's a buy one get one, sometimes it's a buy two get one, or you can just use the 30% off that they usually have every day. So again, don't cheap out on brushes and invest in them, because it would make your paint job look much better and it would just make everything much easier for you. So I was dreading this part over here, just painting the webbing. Again, it's very hard if it's freehand. I was very tempted to do stencil for this one, but it would, I don't know, I think that would require so much more work. So since I do have a base body of black, I realized that it's gonna be much easier for me to clean up messes with this one, because I can just again, as I mentioned earlier, I can just use rubbing alcohol to take some of the red paint off, or I can just use the black paint that I have and then just clean it up with that. So here you can see why I do recommend to do a gray or a white undercoat. So you can see I've done multiple layers of the red already, just so it's a little more vibrant. But yeah, if you do have a gray or a white undertone, then you do red on top of it. I'd say probably 1 or 2 layers is good enough. So what I like with the golden SoFlat paint is that I can just easily let it dry using an airbrush, so it cuts down on my painting time. Again, golden SoFlat, usually you can find them in Michaels as well, or you can buy them from Amazon, or I think directly from their website. It's just very nice because then it does dry matte, so it looks good afterwards. So here I'm just again airbrushing my faces. I like to do my base coats with an airbrush first. So I don't know if you've watched some of my videos, but I initially always start with just the basic flesh tone as an undercoat for all of my sculpts. And then for Miles, just because he's a darker skin tone, instead of the usual 4:1 a flesh and dark ochre, I believe for this one I did do a ratio of 8 dark ochre to a 4 of flesh tone. And again, it varies from character to character. I think the best person to ask for this one, if you go on Instagram, his name is Artman Customs. Alright, so for this one, as you can see, I did mention I'm using the black to clean up my messes here. So yeah, it just blends really nicely to the base color that I used. Yeah, that's another way to make your life easier, is always use the base body, the same color of the one that you want to do. Just makes everything easier. You don't have to prep the joints, but yeah, it doesn't always work that way, but luckily I have the Jim Gordon body to make this Miles one. Okay, so for this one, I'm now painting the masked head of Miles Morales. Again, it's just black. That's nice. And then this one is the half masked one. So again, painting black for the mask. Alright, so for this one, I'm just painting the hair. Again, also just black. Maybe I'll do a tutorial in the future painting head sculpts, but again, there's a lot of videos out there. Maybe I'll do one just for content. Yeah, so with this one, I'm just now painting the eyebrows. Usually it's trickier, but for just dark-haired characters, just having black actually just works really well. Sometimes you can add shades of brown as well on top of the black, and that works really well to give it some details. So this one, I'm just painting the eyes white. It just makes it so much easier to just do the border last instead of doing the border first and then white. At least this one, even if I do make mistakes, then I can just cover it up with a red outline for the eyes. So with this one, I am using the golden SoFlat N8 neutral gray. And I'm using a heat gun over there. Just dries it really fast. But again, do not use a heat gun for long. Nothing more than 4 seconds, I'd say, at a time. Otherwise, it's gonna cause it to heat up too much and boil, and it's gonna look bad. Or it can make it crack. So this is the hard part of the video. Just because this specific sculpt, the lines, the webbing lines are not really deep. So I have to actually kind of draw the red lines here, the red webbings. But again, just because the background color is black, I can just easily clean it up. This head sculpt was by Chirion 3D on Instagram. It's JCIRION 3D. You can get this head sculpt from him, or I think you might have it in CG Traders or Cults 3D. This masked head sculpt, I'm not sure who made it, but I just found it on Cults 3D as well. With this sculpt, it does have very deep lines for the webbing, so I was just letting the paint reach the very bottom of those lines. It's gonna seep to the very bottom, and then I can just clean up the top with no problems. Yeah, so you can see it cleans up really nicely, and it's very relaxing to do too, so it was pretty fun. Yeah, so I did fast forward this video by a lot, and it's still taking a lot of time. So yeah, I can imagine how long I did it. Alright, looks like it's all done. Alright, we're actually painting eyes now for this one. So what I like to do when painting eyes is so that I'm currently using a darker wash, and then I would just do a small droplet into the eyes, and then I would let it flow kind of like to the inner part of the eye, and it would just make a natural outline just by following the lines of the eyes. And then I would just let that dry, then I automatically now have an outline for the eye, and then I can just very slowly paint the inside of the eyes with a gray. I think just because the eye doesn't really have a very white sclera, so I think gray is perfect compared to pure white. So yeah, so it's like you can see here, I'm just doing the gray part now for the sclera, or the white part of the eye. And then it's okay if you make mistakes here. You can go past the dried wash outline that I was mentioning about, and then you can just reapply it after the gray paint is done. Yeah, I'll probably make a separate video for painting faces and eyes. Yeah, so for this one I'm just doing a black pupil, the very middle there. And then usually for Asian black characters, or even Latino characters, our pupils are usually just very brown. So it's kind of hard to see when painting it if you're having like a black outline of the pupil and then you try and put the brown in the middle. It's really hard to see, but I try and do it just so it's not just a full black pupil in there. And then I'm just adding the dots, kind of like the shine of the eye, just to make it a little bit more realistic. So with that one, just dip your very fine brush and then do dots into the side there and add like white. So for this one, it looks like we're all done. So I'm just again heating up my parts just so it's much easier to put back. Just making sure everything fits properly. And I think off camera I might have added more paint. Alright everyone, so here's the final product. So here's Miles Morales, and with 3 different heads. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Thanks for watching.